Clawdbot, otherwise known as Moltbot, is breaking the internet right now. But before quickly making just another video to hype it up, I wanted to seriously battle test this thing. So my friends Samin and I have been diving deep into this thing for the past few days. We decided to hop on a podcast to break it all down. What it is, 6 different ways that we're using it, and whether it's actually worth the hype. And to be honest, this does feel like a glimpse into the future of how we're going to be using AI, but there are some incredibly important things you need to know before doing so. So without further ado, let's dive into this video. All right, Salman, we're back. Literally like 2 days after we filmed our last podcast. I know I'm like literally just like taking advantage of you to record these podcasts, but I've genuinely had so much fun and like it's fun nerding out with you. So today we're going to be talking about Clawdbot, Moltbot, whatever the hell you want to call it now. Salman and I have been playing around with this. We each have our individual like unique experiences while using this. So in this video, we're going to talk about what Clawdbot is, as well as break down some of the use cases I have, as well as Salman. So Salman, let's dive in, let's nerd about this and show the audience what it's about.
For sure. Well, I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me on this Clawd pod. But you know, I really wanted to cover what is Clawdbot, but actually we should be calling it Moltbot because Anthropic apparently sued these guys for using Claude in their name.
Right.
So, yeah. But essentially, when we think about what this thing really is and why it's so hyped up, it's because of what it enables us to do. And it's kind of like a glimpse into the future, into how we use technology and how we're going to be interacting with AI agents, right? So right now, you can think of Clawdbot in the easiest way as if you sit a bot, you give it its own computer, you give it its own email address and access to everything. You treat it like its own entity that can do stuff. And then, you know, you can just text it like a coworker and it'll get the stuff done for you. It doesn't matter what interface you use, you can voice memo it, whatnot. And I feel like that's the easiest way to kind of wrap your head around what this thing really is. Of course, there's some bugs here and there, but this thing is brand new and it's just going to get better over time. This is literally the worst it's ever going to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I do want to preface, we're not just going to sit and just hype this up in this video, as you've probably seen all over YouTube or Twitter. You're probably tired of that, but we're going to talk about like our actual experience with it, because I personally set this up a couple of days ago. I've had some great experiences with it. However, I've also like been so mad at it. I'm like, man, why does this keep breaking every 3 messages I send? So it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but yeah, I agree. This is a new way we're going to interface with AI. So Salman, let's dive in, talk a little bit more about what it is, and then we could show like actually how we're both using it.
Sure. So actually, initially, I remember people just thought, what is Clawdbot? And people just thought it was like Claude code on your phone, but that's not really what it is, right? It's kind of like a second employee. So if you think about it like that, I think you can use it a lot better, because honestly, it's not the best at coding. So that itself is just the first thing I've noticed while I'm using it. Of course, you can, you know, have your hacks to get around where it's doing all the code and whatnot. But what I want to preface is that this thing is just kind of like an assistant. And the more skills you give it, the better it'll do, right? And that's why you see people actually buying Mac Minis in droves to put their Clawdbot on it, because that becomes the Clawdbot's personal machine where you put your email address and all that stuff.
For sure. And both Salman and I, to preface, we both bought the Mac Mini for our own reasons. Like, I like having new shiny Apple products. Probably don't need that. You know, people are saying that you could run this on VPS and whatnot. So Salman, if you could explain right now to my audience, like, should they run out and go and get a Mac Mini like you and I did? Or do you think that's a bit of overkill? Because I'm sure, and I know there are workarounds you could use to not have to use a Mac Mini. And then maybe talk about quickly too why people are running this on a completely separate computer, because I think this is a really important distinction to make like early on in this video, so people don't go set this up on their personal computer, have they email their boss and quit their job on autopilot, you know, and then next thing you know, they're blaming us. So break down those things a little bit for us so my audience can get a better understanding of that.
For sure. So yeah, there's this debate going on online, and it's pretty crazy where some people are like, oh, let's just use a Mac Mini, and other people are like, oh, you can set this up on a VPS. Honestly, if you are skilled enough to set it up on a VPS, by all means do that. But I think for the majority of people, they don't know what that is. They don't even know what the words VPS stands for, or what a server is, or how to even use the cloud. So for them, using a Mac Mini, or even you can be a little more economical. If you have an old laptop rotting away in your closet, you can just put Clawdbot on that. Just make sure none of your personal stuff is on it, wipe it clean, and then you can keep that running. It's basically actually, we can actually recycle our old technology with this. And I feel like that's the best use of it. But let's say you don't have anything, or you want some, honestly, if you just wanted to look cool, that's where you use the Mac Mini. So again, if you have an old computer, use that first. If you don't know what a VPS is, if you know how to do all the cloud VPS, all the stuff, do that. But if you just want the cool points and use iMessage, then you need kind of a Mac Mini.
Sure. And personally, VPS, me and that word don't really go together. I don't fully understand. I have a slight idea maybe, but for me, like if I did have an old laptop, probably would have been the most practical for me to use that instead. But instead I didn't have one. So I was like, I have other use cases for my Mac Mini, so I'm just going to go buy one. So you don't need one is what Solomon's saying. Just don't run this on your personal computer unless you want to like toe the line, walk on eggshells.
Yeah. So do not, that's the one thing I will say, like do not give it access to your personal stuff. But what you can do is give it read-only access or something like that, so it can like tell you about stuff.
Sure.
But there is also like the line between usefulness and accessibility, where the more access you give it, the more useful it is, but the less access you give it, the less useful it is. So there is a balance there that you need to kind of figure out.
All right, Simon, so now people know kind of how this works, why they shouldn't run this on their personal computers, how they could, use a workaround to actually run it on something else. What are some key use cases here? Because I've seen people hyping this up and showing certain things, saying they're literally like giving full control to this thing to have it go and reply to their wife and reply to their family and do all of these crazy things. So what are like practical use cases you're seeing right now that people can begin implementing to make their life a bit easier?
So yeah, let's go through a couple different use cases. I actually made a cool little video and some animations for this, so you guys can get a gist of what we do. But actually, while we were preparing for this pod, I was like, hey, maybe I need to show some animations of what this Clawdbot would be like and what it's kind of like visually like to work with it. And I just asked my Clawdbot to go cook up some videos, and because I gave it access to my Gemini API key, what it did is used VO to create these animations. That's just like the first use case.
So this is like a video explaining what Clawdbot is kind of. You see the Mac Mini there. You can see that this person's like sending a message to Clawdbot and it's going off and like typing on the computer, doing it for you. And then Simon, one thing I want to mention too is, where did you even interface with Clawdbot? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you just texted it on Telegram as if you're texting a friend and then it generated these?
Exactly, yeah. So everything you see can be done through Telegram. You can also just text it through iMessage, WhatsApp. There's a dozen different ways. I will say, for if you are beginner or non-technical, just set up Telegram, because Telegram is the safest thing you can do. And with Telegram, after you set that up, you just give it access to whatever you need. So for example, there's one cool application that I've been using where on Telegram, you can actually get an app on your watch. And now, kind of like, I don't know if it's like James Bond or whatnot, but I can just be like, hey, do this stuff for me. I can click it because of this app right here, TG Watch for Telegram. And I can control my entire desktop with my watch just by speaking to it. I don't have to type. And I feel like that has been really fun to cook up, just because the futuristic feel of it,
Yeah, we have the exact same Apple Watch, which is funny, even the same band. So like, I have wished I could have something like this for so long, because really, like, if you think about it, this is like what Siri, what you wish it was. Siri should hypothetically be able to go off and do all these things on your phone and your computer, but it just can't. It's just not good enough. So I wonder, like 6 months from now, maybe Siri will be good enough, but sounds like Clawdbot is maybe a workaround to begin building this utility without having like this native functionality inside of like Apple products and whatnot. So I love that, the Apple Watch idea. That's a super creative way to like interface with this.
Yeah, so I just like being creative in this way. Actually, this is kind of cool, and something that most people haven't thought of, but what you can do is, Brock, do you remember my Meta glasses?
Yeah.
You can actually control Clawdbot from your Meta glasses as well.
Dude, that's sick.
You can even take pictures. I've seen people using it, and you can take pictures and be like, hey, go order this stuff on Amazon if it's cheaper, and it'll get that done for you as well.
That's so crazy, man. Yeah, we're moving towards interesting times. It feels like this is just the first of this like new way to interact with this stuff, as I said before. Salman, we know now like exactly how to use Clawdbot, some different use cases that you're using it for. I'm using this as well. And one big thing that I've noticed since I've been using it personally is the fact that it's not just reactive. So it's not like ChatGPT where you need to ask a question or give it a certain prompt. You can have it go off and be proactive, do things for you because it understands exactly the processes you want it to follow, and come back to you. So Salman, like, explain like what's the difference between this AI being reactive versus proactive?
Okay, so this one is honestly the simplest, but my favorite use case, because I, like most people, like to doom scroll sometimes. And you know, I have my Telegram bot that if I'm doing stupid stuff, that it messages me that, hey, have you got your stuff done for the day? And it also messages me like at night before I wind down. It messages me, hey, what are your top 3 things you want to get done tomorrow? And then it keeps checking in periodically. This I found has really kept me super focused, and that's why I was able to pump out so many videos recently, because I actually literally have something looking after me and chasing me if I don't get stuff done. Even little things, like for example, if my wife is telling me to I don't know, go get some milk or whatever, rather than her having to remind me of doing stuff, I can just tell it to remind me and it does it for me. And then that's one less place of input, and it's so easy to set up because all you have to do is just tell Clawdbot, hey, remind me to do this each time at the cadence you'd like, and it just does it. It's kind of like magic if you think about it.
Right. So we don't need to dive too deep into this, like the technicality behind it, but it's technically using like Claude code in the background to then create these like skills to where it understands exactly how to function. And so just like Claude Code or Claude Cowork, we could just give it like a command and it knows exactly like each step in the process to get that workflow done. Is that right?
Exactly. So like for example, right here, right, you see it tells me my priorities for today because I already had a discussion. Sometimes I set it at night, but I forgot, hey, what are the big things I want to do today? And I said film pod with Brock, and you see it reminded me right here. There's a couple other things I want to do, but you know, it's keeping me super
in line.
on my goals.
It's literally, okay, like being a solopreneur, anybody out there who's like an entrepreneur, doesn't have a boss, you know, is in this business world, whatever, like you understand, you love having the freedom, but sometimes I wish I had somebody telling me what I need to do, you know what I mean? Like sometimes that structure is nice. So it's funny because it's like entrepreneurs really want this freedom, but like then I see this and I'm like, man, this is so great. Having something that's almost just like coaching me through everything I need to do. It's been, like, that's been my favorite use case for it too. Like last night I gave it a 5.5 minute long voice note just over Telegram, just sent a voice note and just basically broke down everything that I'm working on, everything I'm stressed about, everything I did yesterday, the things I need to get done today. And it literally just like broke down and like broke each task down, explained the urgency, whether it was urgent to get done today or like, I don't know, it's just crazy what it could do. It's just fun playing around with.
Like for example, right now, I'll show you this. This is a really cool use case. Is now I'm using it as kind of my project manager because Clawdbot doesn't forget, right? So it's managing me. Like you see, it's managing some of my personal tasks, the ones I showed you, and it's managing my team. I'm not going to show that, but yeah. So it's like reminding people of what to do. It's cleaning up our tickets, our tasks for the day, and we don't have to go touch it. I can just be like, hey, I did XYZ today. And then it goes and manages my ClickUp.
Yeah, no, that's wild. Okay, so we talked on like how Clawdbot's or Multibot is proactive. Now maybe let's go on to the next process here.
Yeah, so there's a ton of use cases we can cover, but I would really want to show you this. So for example, recently I just uploaded this video about Clawdbot, and you see it's flying. Okay, it's flying, but the nice part is that it's doing well, but without me having to do anything, you can see there is some shorts that those are doing pretty well as well. You see, there's getting me some views. These shorts, I do not touch at all. What's happening is that I told Clawdbot, hey, whenever I release a video, just clip it up and publish them. So what happened is it went to Zapier because Opus Clip doesn't have an API. So it uses Zapier to, you know, catch whenever I make a video. I don't know what the hell's going on here. So it chops up the videos. It wrote some code in Trigger Dev. I'm not sure what's going on either. And then, you know, it publishes them into my YouTube, my Instagram, my Twitter, and it just gets me way more eyeballs than I would have wanted. So it's kind of cool on how we're seeing this happen in real time.
Dude, that's nuts. Like as a content creator, like I would pay to have that myself. The fact that it could just auto repurpose that. So one thing to note here, and I'm curious like how this works, is how is it going and actually posting to your YouTube studio? So I'd assume it's maybe using browser access and going and literally clicking on your computer, or am I wrong?
No. So what I told it to do is there's this thing called Blotato, and with Blotato I already had an account, so I just gave it the API key and I'm like, hey, use this thing, it's already connected to all my accounts, go use this to publish. Because Blotato makes it easy that, you know, you can schedule it day by day. It just queues it up for the next day and it's all taken care of. So I'm going to make sure when you guys are making automations with Clawdbot, what you're doing is also finding services that it can use to make its work a lot easier. because when you can do that, and if you can make the thing you're doing into a straight automation where it doesn't have to think, then your automation is going to be consistent because it's just not even following a set of steps, but it's just triggering a Python script or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. And the fact that you were like, hey, I want you to, like, you explained the workflow, and then it figured out that the best way to do this was to create a Zap inside of Zapier. And I guess this is like a kind of good segue into like adding a bit more functionality to our Clawdbot. So an easy way to do this right would be to going to something like Zapier MCP, which basically, like, you don't know what MCP is, don't worry, it's not as scary as it sounds. It essentially just like allows you to connect your agentic workflows, in this case, to any of the apps that Zapier connects with, or whatever that MCP server is. So yeah, Samin right here has this like pulled up, and literally you can just click on add a tool, and you have all these different apps to choose from. You have like an 8,000 plus right there, and it could actually perform actions across any of those applications.
Yeah, I love using this. It makes my life so much easier, and my Clawdbot's life so much easier because it doesn't have to figure out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and then just like makes everything consistent and it doesn't break because, you know, AI technically does not produce the same output each time, but an automation, when it's just written in code, it does. So there's this big concept of agentic workflows that have been blowing up recently where, for example, you can get Claude to create these automations and then also run it. But these automations are essentially just Python files. So if you're making anything with, let's say, N8N or whatnot, those at the end is just code, right? And when we're doing agentic workflows, it's the same thing. We've gone back to square one and we're just writing the code because Claude is so much better at writing the code. It's just hosted inside your Mac Mini, for example. So you don't have to deploy it or anything. It's just always running, and Clawdbot has access to everything.
Right. Yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, Salman. So we've talked quite a bit about like what Clawdbot is, who it's for, how you can begin using it, supercharge it with something like an MCP, and different use cases that we found for this. So one question I want to ask, because I don't want to make this video just to hype this up. Like, obviously it's cool, it's new, it's like fun to play around with. Where do you think this excels? Where do you think it's good? But also, where do you think that it might not be the best and it might be slightly overhyped? And I want to like talk a bit more about like where this is going and interfacing with technology like this, because it really does feel like this is the future, whether it's Clawdbot or not.
Yeah, so it's actually really crazy of how things are moving now. Actually, A16Z made a big bet into the agentic transformation of the web, and maybe I will show you guys a little graphic. Right now, you know, what we were doing is just using our computers and everything was done through here. Now we're kind of getting into the point where, you know, bandwidth is a big thing. So how fast we can get things done and use leverage. Now what we can do essentially is when we interact with the web. So for example, I want to buy a plane ticket for this trip me, Brock, and a bunch of people are going on, right? And to do that right now, I would have to go to Google Flights. I'd have to look for a bunch of flights. I had to purchase all these different little steps, right? How we're seeing the web moving is actually websites will be optimized initially for agents. So that means I can tell my Clawdbot or whatever agent, for example, hey, go find me the cheapest flight to Cape Town. And what it's going to do is going to give me some options. I'm going to just go through it and then I hit go and then it purchases it for me. So it's kind of a different way to interact with the web. Of course, there'll be UIs, pretty whatnot, but what we see right now is the bandwidth at which we do tasks on our computer is drastically going down because our agent is controlling the computer, which means the whole infrastructure of the internet has to change and adapt in that way.
Right, 100%. And it kind of feels like Clawdbot is maybe not the first of its kind. To me, it feels like the first tangible thing of like, okay, I really see where this is going now and how I'm gonna interface with my computers and my technology and my AI agents, instead of me having to go into something like N8N and connecting all these nodes that probably break every once in a while. Instead, I just could use something like this, give it access to MCP servers or certain APIs, and it's able to just like go and interact and pull things and create things without me even needing to know how is it doing this. So yeah, it's been interesting to see. I guess last question I have for you is like, have you ran into issues with Clawdbot? Because me personally, like I had it working really good yesterday for solid like 30 minutes to an hour. And then I keep running into issues. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but it does feel like this is the beginning of like something interesting.
Yeah, so it's actually, you will run into many issues when you're using Clawdbot. Mainly because remember, this is open source technology. That means some guy in his basement probably, I'm not actually, he's an esteemed engineer, but he just cooked it up himself, and then now everyone from around the world is slowly contributing to it. So this thing is evolving as we see it, and you'll probably see a lot more companies like speedrun into trying to make an easy interface for this, or making this even easier. So right now it's probably the hardest it'll be. It's still doable. If you saw my video, it's kind of just like I show you how to debug, where you just copy and paste, but it's just understanding how you do that is the unlock you need to start using this technology.
100%. Samin, this has been fun, man. For my audience, if they hear this, they're like, hey, I want to take the risk. I want to start playing around with this and testing this out, because I see this as the future and I want to like learn how to, you know, interface with AI like this. What is the first thing you'd suggest that they should go and do?
Honestly, I've put a lot of thought into the video I just made, and I literally set up a brand new computer. So maybe check that video out. It's probably the best place to start. If you can do that, you can do everything.
Perfect. Well, Samin, this has been fun, man. Thank you for, again, hopping on this podcast. I've had so much fun just nerding out about these new releases. Things are moving so fast. So appreciate it so much for coming on. I'll see you in a week, and it's been fun doing this, man.
For sure. Yeah. Maybe the next crazy advancement, we're going to be in person filming the pod.
I know. That'd be fun. That would be so fun. I wouldn't doubt that it's going to happen.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for having me, Brock. This has been super fun.
Yeah. I'll see you guys in the next video.